The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from North Star Games.
Quacks of Quedlinburg was the 2018 Kennerspiel de Jahres winner. Now this is a pretty fast bag building game, plays over 8 rounds. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through how to play the game, and then we're going to sit down with Dad and his friends and we're going to watch a turn, give you a good idea of how the game's played, and then we're going to come back and we're going to tell you what we think of it. So check it out. Each player is going to start with their own cauldron or their player board in their color. So you can see mine is green. And this board is double-sided. You'll notice on the back we have vials down here. This is more of kind of like an advanced way to play. So we're not going to talk about that right away. We're going to talk about this side. Now the board will tell you exactly what you need to do. It tells you what your starting ingredients are going to be in your bag. You're going to start with a value 1 green spider, a 1 pumpkin, a 1 value 3 white, 2 value 2 whites, and 4 value 1 whites. This also tells you kind of what happens. Your pot will explode if you have greater than 7 value whites in your pot. Tells you right down here it's going to blow up. When it does blow up, you get to choose, do you want points or do you want money? And if you do blow up, you don't get to roll the die. So what we're going to do is each player is going to start with a little vial. This is going to allow us, when we flip this to the other side, see there's nothing on that side, as long as the white that we just pulled didn't bust us, we're going to be able to throw that white back in. So you flip it over, and then there's ways to reset that, and I'll talk about that later. We're each going to have a little water droplet. That will start on the 0 space on our board. And then finally we have this little rat token, and he's going to go in our little bowl there. And I'll talk about what the rats do in just a little while. So we have these starting ingredients. We take our nice silk bag, and we're going to put all those in the bag and give it a good shuffle. Now the first thing we're going to do on our turn is we have these this deck of fortune teller cards. You can see there's quite a few of them there. So what we're going to do is we are going to flip one of those over, and whoops, hold it up right side up there. And this will tell you what effect is in play for this round. This one says you can trade 1 ruby for any 1 chip, not purple or black. And I'll talk about the other chips in a little bit, but we'll have that face up, and that will be in play. That's going to happen at the end of the round when we are dealing with our rubies. So this game takes place simultaneously between all players. So what they're going to do is they're going to reach into their bag and they will pull a chip out. Now I pulled a 1 green spider, so I will place that on the number 1 spot. I'll pull another chip, and I pulled a 3 white. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 spots from that, and I'll place that down. I'll keep pulling. Oh, I pulled a 1 white. That's going to go 1 spot after that. Oh, now I pulled a 2 spot, or 2 white. So that will go 2 spots after that. So now I'm up to 6. 1 more, and I'm getting dangerously close to busting. Now I know that there's 3 whites, 3 number 1 whites, and there's still a number 2 white. So I'm going to push my luck, and I drew the number 2. So that would go there, and now I have busted. So when I bust, I get to choose at the end of the turn whether I'm going to take the money or I'm going to take the points. Because if you don't bust, you get to take both. So not a great way to start there. Let's take a look at the scoring board, because this is going to walk you through basically how all of the scoring works. So the first thing that we're going to do is whoever had the highest amount on their board, as far as how far around that they went, and they didn't bust, is going to be able to roll this white die. Now the white die is going to grant them certain bonuses. So you'll see they have, they could get a pumpkin, they could get 2 victory points, they could get 1 victory point, they could move their water droplet 1, they could get a ruby, and I think that is it. So they would roll that, and they're the only ones that are going to get that advantage, unless there was a tie. So you'll see it tells you right there on that first flag. Next, we're going to evaluate this column here. So there are 3 ingredients that are in play, and I'll show you the boards there. So this is the one I call the death moth because it looks like a moth with a death head on there. And what we're going to do is we're going to look and see if we had any black chips in our cauldron. And it says if you drew more black chips than one of your players sitting next to you, you're going to move your water droplet. If you draw more black chips than both players, you're going to get a ruby and a water droplet. Next, we're going to evaluate the spiders. For each green chip that is the last or next to last chip in your pot, you're going to receive 1 ruby. So getting rubies is good. And then finally, after turn 3, this potion is going to be in play. And this is for every 1, 2, or 3 chips that you receive the indicated bonus. So if you only had 1 of these in your cauldron, you're going to get 1 point. If you had 2, you're going to get a point and a ruby. And if you had 3 or more, you're going to get 2 points, and you get to move your water droplet ahead 1. So next we are going to evaluate whether the players are going to get a ruby. If your scoring space has a ruby depicted on it, you're going to get 1 ruby for that. Next we have victory points. So whatever your scoring space is, you're going to be able to collect the number of victory points. And it's got this little box. And on the player board, you'll notice there is a little box there. This shows the number of victory points you're going to get. The next spot is the little green blob there, and that means you are going to look and see, based on your scoring spot, how much money basically you have to spend. So if this was our spot, we'd get 5 victory points and 20 money to spend. However, if we exploded like I did in the little demo that I showed you, I would have to choose. I would either get 5 victory points or 20 money. I have to make that choice. I don't get to have both. And then finally, the last spot here says we can trade in 2 rubies, and if we do, we get to do one or the other. We can either move our water droplet forward 1 space on our board, or we can reset our flask. The final thing I want to talk about on the scoring board here is that, and if you can see these, there are little rats that go all around the board. So let's just say that our scores looked like this. Okay, what I'm going to do for each player, that whoever is in the lead is not going to get any kind of a rat bonus. But the next player, they're going to count how many are in between. Now, in the case between green and blue, they are in the same little area, so there are no additional rat tails that they have to deal with. However, yellow has 1 rat tail between them, so yellow is going to be able to put their rat marker 1 space above their water droplet, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, red actually has 2 rat tails between him and the first player, so he's going to be able to put his rat token on 2 spaces in front of his water droplet. Each player's water droplet is going to begin on the 0 spot, but when you get to move it, so let's say that I turned in 2 rubies, I'd be able to move that forward 1 spot. Now, also evaluating the rat tails, let's just say that I had 2 rat tails between me and the lead player. I'd be able to take that rat and put it 2 spaces above my water droplet. Now, what this means is if I have my rat on the board or my water droplet, this is the space I'm going to start the next round with. So when I start pulling ingredients out of my bag, I would put them on the 4 space. And let's say that I didn't have my rat on the board and my water droplet was on the 2nd spot, then I would be starting with my ingredients on the number 3 spot. We're going to start the game with 5 of our booklets out. There are little potion ingredients. That's going to be the pumpkins, the death moth, the spiders, the mushrooms, and what I call skulls. And if you'll notice on the board, we have a little flame token here, and the round numbers are labeled, so there's only going to be 9 rounds. But after we move on to the next round, you'll notice here we have the little mandrake. So when we get to that round, then the little mandrake potion ingredients become available. And then at the 3rd round, we get that purple guy that I was talking about earlier with that. So once you get past the 3rd round, 4th and 5th, there's nothing special. During the 6th round, every player is going to add 1 more value 1 white to their bag. 7 and 8, nothing happens, and then, or nothing special. Round 9, then you've got a little bit different the way you're going to handle the turn. Everybody is going to reach into their bag and pull out their hand and put it like this. If they choose to continue, they would flip their hand over and they would show an ingredient such as this. If they show an empty hand, then they are done. They're no longer going to press their luck so they don't explode. Also, at the end of the game, you're going to get certain victory points based on what you have. Now, I've talked about the ingredients, so let's just kind of take a little closer look at these. Whoops, there we go. So the pumpkins are they're all value 1, and they are going to cost $3 if you want to buy one. The death moths, you can get a black one. It's a value 1, but it's going to cost you 10. The green spiders have 3 different values: a value 1, a value 2, and a value 4. A 1 will cost you 4, a 2 costs you 8, and a 4 will cost you 14. And what this is going to allow you to do is when you pull those out, you'll move that many more spaces on the cauldron board. There's our mushrooms. The mushrooms give a bonus for pumpkins that you already have. It says if there are already orange chips in your pot, move the red chip forward according to the chart. So if you've already got 1 or 2 pumpkins in your cauldron, you are going to be able to advance another 1 space depending on what the value of the chip was. If you have 3 or more on your pot, you are going to advance 2 spaces. Then this is one of my favorites. This is the skull. So this says draw 1, 2, or 4 chips from your bag. You can place one of them in your pot. So this is kind of a preview thing, and you're going to see how this really works when we do our watch a turn here in just a minute. But a value 1 costs you 5, a value 2 costs you 10, and a value 4 costs you 19. And you can see if you pull a 1, you can pull a chip out and look at it and decide if you want to play it or throw it back in your bag. If you pull a value 2, you're going to pull 2 chips, and if you pull a value 4, you're going to pull 4. You can still only add 1 to your pot, regardless of what the value is. Next, we have the mandrakes, and a value 1 will cost you 8, a value 2 costs you 12, and a value 4 will cost you 18. Now, the nice thing about the mandrake is it says if the previously played chip was white, you get to put that back in your bag. So just as long as the previous chip was white, then the mandrake is in effect. Then we have the purple guy, and it says for 1, 2, or 3 purple chips, you receive the bonus indicated, and I talked about that earlier. Now that I've given you an overview on how to play, let's watch a turn between Dad and his friends, and I think you'll really get a good feel for the tempo of the game and kind of how everything plays out. All right, so we're going to jump in on round 5 and show you what a typical turn looks like. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to reveal a card and find out what effects it's going to have on this round. So you can see the card here. It says if your pot explodes this round, the player to your left gets any 1 2-value chip. So it's not bad. So I want you guys to all bust. All right, so let's pull some ingredients. Pull all whites. Jeez.
Yeah, it doesn't help me. I'm not to your left.
I'm going to use my potion bottle. I'm going to throw that 3 back in. Give my bag a shake.
Is this only if it's at now, or is it?
Yeah, now you would.
I
get
can
to
pull
do
out.
that.
I can
You
pull out 2.
2 since you have a level 2
Yeah.
skull.
And I put one back in my bag. Correct.
Yep. Choose which one you want to play and one you want to put back.
Actually,
You can throw both of them
You
back
can
if
put
you
both of
wanted.
them back in the bag, or you can play both of them.
Oh,
It's your choice.
I'll just put it down.
I'm stopping.
got a preview. Yeah, we're gonna play that. So that's 2 plus pumpkin.
That's why those guys are pulling still. I'll show you. This is the one that we're talking about. They have a level 2, and it says you get to draw 1, 2, or 4 based on the level there, and you may place one of them back in your pot. So that's what they're doing there.
I used my potion because the 3 put me at 7.
All right, I'm going to draw 1 out. And I can place it back in a bag where I can play it, right?
Yep. Yeah,
I'll,
2.
I'll
So-
play
Well, no, you play that,
this one,
and then
I
you get
can
to
do
draw
2
2.
more.
Yeah.
Correct.
This is Hefe's first time playing this game.
So 2. I can play both of these, right?
5, 6, 7. I'm good.
Or you can put both of them back in the bag.
I'll play that one, and that means. What is that one?
Oh,
That's a
actually,
white one. Oh,
actually,
that's a
you
white
can't
one.
play both. I'm sorry. You can only do one of them.
Yeah, but you can't put both back in the bag if you want.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that was a big draw.
Rules.
All right, I think I shall hold there.
All right. So, did anyone bust?
No.
I did not bust.
Oh, you beat me.
At 7.
You beat me.
Okay. So I am at 12.
20.
18.
Wow. So since Chris is in the lead at 20 and he did not explode, he gets to roll the white die and he gets to move his water droplet forward. All right. Next thing we do is we'll evaluate the tokens there. So if anyone's green was the last or next to last, they would get a ruby. Nobody has that.
Nope.
The next one, or the other one, is the death moth. That's what I call
Got one?
Uh,
You got one?
them. I've got one and you've got one. So Chris does not have any. So we'll each be able to move our water droplet one. I'll show what we're talking about here. So this is if you draw more black chips than one of the players sitting next to you, you get to move your water droplet. If, say, Hefe or I were the only ones, then we would have been able to move the water droplet and get a ruby. So move the water droplet up one there. All right. Next we have the rubies. Did anyone end their last on a ruby?
I did not.
Nope. Okay, so let's do points. I will get 2 points. Hefe?
5?
6.
He should be one ahead, I think, because we were tied, weren't we? Or were you one behind me?
Oh, you know what? You would have been tied with me. You got 5. You guys are there, and Chris is there. That's what it is. All right. So purchasing, I have 12.
18 for me.
12, 18, and 20.
Well, apparently I need to catch up with you two on those.
I'm just gonna take a level 2 of the little yellow guys.
I'm gonna go.
Like
I'm gonna go with the 4 here.
So
So
let's
with,
talk about what the yellow guy does here. So if the previously played chip was white, you get to put the white chip back into the bag. These remind me of the mandrakes from Harry Potter. Do you think they look like the mandrakes?
I think that's what it is Mandrake.
so
Actually, there's an
with 4,
ingredient here, ingredient sheet. So let's just look up what that is. It does say it is a mandrake. Look at that, right there.
Now, is there any benefit for having a 4 versus a 1 on this?
No, it's just the movement. You
Oh,
don't
I
get
get
any
go farther.
addition-
Got it.
Stronger benefit. It's just the movement.
Yeah.
Okay, did everybody buy?
Yep.
Okay, then the last step is if you have 2 rubies, you can move your water droplet 1, or you could reset your potion vial. Anybody got any rubies left? No,
I
we
do
all
not.
spent them in previous
Do
turns.
not.
So the next thing we would do is look at the rat tails that separate the players. So there are actually no rat tails that separate us. So no one will get to place their rat on their board. Everyone will take all the ingredients that they bought and the ones that they have on the board, and they'll put them back in the bag, and we'll get ready for another round. All right, so now that we've watched how the game is played, let's get to what Dad and his gaming group think of the game. This is a very light, laid-back sort of game. Push your luck, grab a token, hopefully you don't explode, put it in your pot, go to the next thing. So it's I think it's a very calm, relaxing game to play. Accessible to anyone, it's very easy. One of the great things I like about this game is the variability that you can introduce. I mean, granted, you can start with just the basic books, and I kind of showed you that earlier. But one of the things I want to show too is, so based on player count, like the Death Moth here, it says on a 3 or 4 player game, you're going to use this side. In a 2-player game, you're going to use this side. And one of the things you might not have noticed when I showed this before is, see, there's like a little bookmark here. You can flip this over to the other side, and you'll notice there's 2 bookmarks. And what happens is very different than what happened on the other side. Now, there are basically 2 versions of each book. You'll notice here's a 1 side, there's the 2 side, there's the 3 side, and there is the 4 side. Now, what you're going to do when you set up the game is you're going to determine which number of bookmarks you want to use. So, start with the 1s, then progress to the 2s in another game, and 3s and 4s, and so on. But that adds so much to the replayability and gives you a different feel each time if you vary that up based on what those bookmarks are. So I really like that aspect. That was a really cool thing to introduce into the game. So gameplay wise, I really enjoy this. Like I said, it's a lighter game, but that's fine. The components, the board here is nice and thick. The fact that it is double-sided to give you that other option on playing is just another way that furthers the variability of the game. The art on the board is just fine. I do like the fact that on this side it gives you basically the hints, so oh, this is what I'm starting with my bag, and this is what I want to avoid. I want to avoid more than 7 whites or my pot's going to explode, and when it does, this is what happens. The tokens themselves, the little green discs, they're okay. They slide pretty easy, which is the only problem that I have. And they're a little hard to pick up sometimes. It would have been maybe nicer to have these be a little bit bigger and have that scoreboard be a little bit bigger as well. Because you can see the scoreboard is actually fairly small compared to the individual player boards. Now the art on the scoreboard is really good as well. The die, it's a nice wooden rounded die. We have these additional score markers here, so you'll notice that we have 1 for each color, and they are double-sided, so when you put them on the board they have the value 0, and if you go all the way around the board you can flip it over to a 50 side. So that's also a nice little touch, plus it makes the board look a little nicer too. Everyone that I've taught this game to, I think, has really enjoyed it, and they take it for what it is. It's a nice laid-back pressure luck bag building game. I like bag building games. I like the fact that, like I said, I could play this with anyone, even non-gamers. I think they're going to be able to pick this up fairly quickly. So now that I've told you what I think and what most of my gaming group thinks of it, my buddy Chris is going to weigh in with his thoughts.
Hi, this is Chris with some thoughts about Quacks. I got to play this game at Gen Con with Tim, and I knew right away that I liked this game. It had already won the Kennerspiel Award, so it had buzz, and they allowed you to play about 3 rounds with it during the demo game, and that was enough to really know that I was really going to enjoy this game a lot. The production quality is okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. It has good cardboard, good quality. It's going to last a while. The artwork is okay. You can tell the pieces apart. There's no confusion over colors or shapes or anything. So it's workable. It's not something that I get excited about, that artwork, but it's good for its purpose. You can get acrylic upgrade tokens through Etsy and maybe Top Shelf Gamer. I like the look of those quite a bit. What it does do really well from a production perspective, though, is the bags. So we recently played Dice Settlers, where you can't even get your hand into the bag to pull the dice out. So this is large enough that it fits a real hand in it, and the feel of the material is very nice. I think they did a really good job with the bags. Theme in this game doesn't really matter. It's a cute theme, adding ingredients and hoping that your potion doesn't boil over. But it's I don't know how necessary it is. But if you're going to have a theme, again, it's very cute, and it definitely draws attention to it, because you can actually explain what the theme is. So that's nice. The gameplay is where the game shines. I like this game a lot. I like the bag building aspect of it, where you can add ingredients every round. Even if you boil over, you get to choose, do I want points or do I want to add ingredients? So you can actually add the ingredients every round if you want to. I like the variability of the ingredients, where in different games you can bring out different ingredients that are going to have different effects. I like that quite a bit. And I like the way that it does the push your luck. A lot of times push your luck games are too simple. With the added bag building aspect here, it makes this a meatier game. I still wouldn't put it as a difficult or a medium weight game at all. It's still a light game, but it adds some things that draw heavier gamers in. I like the fact that the base ingredient that you use that can make your potion boil over, I like that those are 1s, 2s, and 3s, so that you're not just inching your way towards that level. It's that 3 could put you over at any particular time. I like the fact that it keeps balance in the game because it has you add those components or those ingredients in the middle of the game. So as you're adding new ingredients in, you're still having to put the ingredients that are going to boil over in there, so it keeps your bag balanced a bit. If I had one criticism about the game, I think it may go on a round or two too long. I believe it plays 9 rounds, and I think it would probably be just about as good at 7. And Tim will help clarify if I have those numbers wrong. It's been a few weeks since I've played. It never feels like a slog to get through it. It always feels like a fun game all the way to the end. But if I had to put a criticism out there, I think that would be the one. Overall, again, I really like this game. I like push your luck games. I like bag builders. I like the simple theme that's here, but I think it's a cute theme, and it's something, again, that I could bring my wife and daughter in and play, because the theme is easily explained and it could generate some interest in the game. So again, big thumbs up on this one from me, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.
With the exception of the cards, the books, and the vials, you can see that I have Gerberized this. Each of the different potions has their own Gerber container. So that makes setup and storage fairly easy. The rule book is actually nice and colorful, tells you everything you really need. It's well written, and it also comes with the almanac of ingredients, and this is going to tell you what each one of the different sets are. I was telling you about the bookmarks, so there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, so they call those the different sets. Gives you an overview of what that is, so it's got them in there for every book, so that was really nice. The other thing I didn't mention was these cloth bags. Actually, they're silk, so they're fairly nice. You can easily get your hand in it, especially with my big meaty hand, so that's nice as well. So that is the Quacks of Quedlinburg, and we will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.